Welcome back to RGR Football. We're doing updates. It's going to be like a running train back and forth all week long, but we got Matt Derrick back. So Matt will tell me where I'm crazy, but I'm pretty excited about this guard signing in Joe Thuney. It fits in a number of ways. Do you think that this is the positive that it comes off initially?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it stunned me because we weren't really thinking interior, and I certainly wasn't thinking $80 million for an interior player. But when you look at Thuney, you think about it in the scheme and how it fits into the puzzle, and it does. It makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, we've been talking about, for a couple of seasons now that the Chiefs have trouble in short yardage situations. The Chiefs have always had a bit of a weakness on the inside, and they have, really never thrown a lot of resources into it. I mean, other than, giving LDT the big deal, which was really 5 years ago now, and that was Dorsey that gave him the money. Other than that, I mean, they really haven't put a whole lot of resources into the interior. They've always gone with, journeymen and some free agents or lower level acquisitions, cheaper priced. And this is, their first real foray into it. And frankly, when you spend that kind of money, you usually get what you pay for. Yep. And in Thuney, you should get a guy who is going to be a superior blocker, run game, pass game, should absolutely help in short yardage situations, and absolutely add some fierce mentality to this offensive line that we've always talked about has probably been, missing the last few seasons.
I love that aspect. And I know that Andy have to be just as happy, because when I looked at his pressures allowed, he gave up half of what Allegretti gave up last year and a third of what Wiley gave up. Now, Wiley played some tackle too, so he had better pass rushers to go against, in my opinion. But that's a significant step forward at that left guard spot that I don't think Kelechi Assembly was going to be ready. So clearly, you like his nasty, but this I think is a well-rounded aspect that they can anchor this interior on. It's weird that it's not a center, but that's my next question for you. Is the starting center in 2021 on this roster right now?
That's a great question. I want to say that I'm about 65% sure, but there's a lot of wiggle room there. I mean, I think Nick Allegretti is probably the heir apparent at that spot. I mean, he's shown that he can start, and and if you can handle that left guard position, moving over to center should be a fairly easy transition. He's played center before. Chiefs have always felt that he has a pretty good ceiling there, so I think there's a pretty good shot at that. But, hey, Daniel Kilgore's not gone anywhere yet. That's still an option. I think he could stick around. The expectation is that, Austin Ryder's probably going to get a better deal elsewhere. So I think that the Chiefs will probably be looking to get maybe even a little bit younger at that spot. We'll see. I mean, they could surprise us all by going out and not spending a ton on a tackle and end up bringing in an $80 million center. No, I don't think they're going to do that. Hey, maybe if Rodney Hudson wants to come back on a veteran sweetheart deal, then we can talk. But
I was just going to say, there's all these ex-Chiefs out there.
There's a lot of ex-Chiefs out there.
Mitch restructured with Buffalo, right? So he's going back. But, I mean, that's a surprise release from Rodney Hudson. I don't know that there's a whole lot of love that makes him want to come back. But at that point, whether you go with Allegretti or you did bring somebody in, the Trent Williams sweepstakes are still on. The Chiefs are still in it, supposedly fighting with San Francisco at this point as we record this. I don't know whether that happens or not. Either way, I think there's a draft tackle in the future here. I think there has to be, no matter what. But that brings me to the other side of the ball, because all that prepares to keep you where you are with Patrick and protect him. They still have to get after the other quarterback better. And they did decide to bring Taco Charlton back. I'm really happy about that. I feel like he has the upside. How do you feel about his return? And do they still need to draft another pass rusher?
Yes and yes. I mean, I think you got to feel good about Taco coming back. Was really productive in the limited work that you saw him last season. And Brendan Daly and his ability, I think that to get something out of these guys, I think you got to trust in that. And it looked like there was certainly a good rapport there. Those two guys got along pretty well. And I think there was a lot of mutual respect. Obviously, Taco goes way back with Frank Clark. So I think that having those two together, it's probably just good all around. I mean, I don't see how that's going to be a downside to any of that. And, I mean, it does. I think that the Chiefs will still be in the market for an edge rusher. Obviously they liked what they got out of Mike Daney last year, so he's certainly going to still be a piece. But yeah, I still think that they will be in the market for the draft, looking for somebody that can come in and compete. But this at least puts you in a spot where you don't feel like you have to come out with an edge rusher and force something that's not there, because you got a little bit of depth now. hey, they'll probably still kick the tires on some free agents, maybe some guys, that are just the next Emmanuel Ogba. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a guy that, underperformed his first contract that they can bring in on the cheap. And nothing's happened with Tano Passanio yet, as we're talking right now. Right. Can't rule out him returning either. But, I do think that the Chiefs wanted an upgrade on the left side. And, hey, Taco, maybe he can provide that, but I don't think they're done looking.
Yeah, I don't either. I think they probably need somebody that has some oomph to him, and let Taco and Mike fill in as the backups in the rotation, keep everybody fresh. I love that concept because I think they both earned their snaps last season. That brings me to the cornerback spot. And as we sit here, nothing's happened with Bashaud Breeland either. Do you think that there's mutual interest, or is this, hey, thank you for your time. We're glad you got a ring. We're going to move on?
No, I still think that there's mutual interest, but hey, Breeland's going to try and find that money if he can. I mean, this is what, season 3 or 4 now of trying it after that contract that blew up on him. Yeah, I mean, it's now or never. I mean, especially at his age. Yeah. So I would not begrudge him in the least in this business of trying to get as much money as he can. And frankly, that deal is not in Kansas City. So if he's willing to come back on another and needs to come back on another 1-year prove it type deal, then yeah, it could happen. But I don't think that long-term money, long-term contract is in Kansas City. But if somebody's willing to give it to him, go. I mean, that's why it would be my advice to him. Go.
Now, that said, with DeAndre Baker hurt, with Bo Peep Keys having very, very little exposure last year, I don't think they're out of the lower level free agent market for a corner either. Do you?
No, I don't. And certainly we haven't got the official word yet that they're going to tender Traverse Ward, but would expect him to obviously continue to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. Baker, is certainly something that they feel like is a huge addition. And, they liked what they saw in the last few weeks of the season with him before the injury. Bo Peep Keys, is still kind of a lump of clay. I mean, he's still a work in progress. So, I think it's too early to plug him into a spot. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, Chiefs are definitely going to, that's another position. I mean, it's just like edge rusher. I mean, that's a position that you're going to be in the market in free agency. You're going to be in the market in the draft. Probably after the draft, you'll be in the market for corners all the way up to training camp.
Yeah, you can't have enough. That's just the way that it rolls. And folks, if you want to hear our thoughts on the running back situation, I know that hit on Tuesday afternoon. You can go check out Locked On Chiefs. Matt, thanks for all of your time today. I'm sure something will pop as soon as we're done here, but we'll get there.
Always does.
Have a good one. Thank you, folks, for watching. We'll check you next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.